Former WWE Champion Drew McIntyre has gone dark on Twitter and removed all WWE references from his profile amid speculation about his future with the company, with his contract set to expire later this year. Was Vince McMahon backstage at SmackDown this week? We've got details on that. Plus, the WWE 2023 draft dates have been revealed on last night's edition of SmackDown. Who is the early favourite to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match this year at the event in London? Shinsuke Nakamura returns to SmackDown this week. A WrestleMania Undisputed Tag Team Championship rematch has been announced for SmackDown in 2 weeks' time. We've got an Intercontinental Championship match happening next week on SmackDown. Segments and matches for this week's edition of Monday Night Raw have been revealed. And could Cody Rhodes be the next WWE star to enter the world of Hollywood? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about former WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. We don't know what's next for WWE's Drew McIntyre following his loss at WrestleMania 39, but if his recent Twitter activity is anything to go by, it might be something different. Friday, the former WWE Champion blacked out his Twitter account. Meanwhile, his most recent tweet dates back to April 2nd, following his hard-hitting triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship against Sheamus and Gunther, the latter of whom retained. Said tweet was simple, displaying just 3 waving hand emojis. This also comes just 2 weeks after reports of McIntyre's WWE contract status came to light, noting that not only is it in its final year, but a new deal doesn't appear to be close right now. For what it's worth, McIntyre's Instagram profile remained unchanged as of Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Fightful Sean Ross Sapp has also inquired, tweeting Friday evening that, quote, "For everyone sending me this," which is a screenshot of McIntyre's profile, "I've asked," end quote. With all that being said, we have seen this before. It doesn't necessarily mean the worst thing possible. It could just be a smokescreen for McIntyre. Last year, prior to WrestleMania 38, Seth freaking Rollins went dark on social media accounts when it looked as though he wasn't going to have a match at the grandest stage of them all. As it turned out, he had a very big match, facing the returning Cody Rhodes instead. But getting back to McIntyre, he's arguably fallen down the pecking order in recent months after failing to dethrone undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle last September. McIntyre reunited with his on-again, off-again best friend Sheamus, losing to the Usos in an Undisputed Tag Team Championship match in January and falling short alongside the Brawling Brutes and Kevin Owens at Survivor Series War Games last November, following a program with Karrion Kross. Now, in addition to having a bit of a strange Twitter profile as well last night, Drew McIntyre was not backstage for SmackDown last night. He missed last week's post-WrestleMania show for what was said to be a health issue, but it was then reported that he worked WrestleMania 39 whilst actually dealing with that injury. He also missed a local signing last Friday. It was noted that the severity of the injury is not known and that it is unclear how long he'll be out of action for or when this issue first occurred. Regarding last night's absence, it is very interesting that McIntyre did at one point do local media in Nebraska to promote last night's SmackDown, indicating that at one point he was scheduled for the show. As we've noted, McIntyre's WWE contract expires later this year, but the two sides have not agreed on a new deal as of right now. And McIntyre has told people he isn't looking to make a decision until later in the year, closer to the expiration date. It was also reported that McIntyre is unhappy with WWE for various reasons, including creative and the amount of money he's being offered for his new contract. But his absence last week and this week reportedly have nothing to do with his contract or reported unhappiness. So if we get any more information on McIntyre, we'll let you know. But what do you think this means? Is this just McIntyre teasing for a new version of his character, a different change to his character, or is this the beginning of the end for the former WWE champion in WWE? Now, one of the biggest questions at the moment for every television event for WWE is Vince McMahon backstage? Well, according to a report from PW Insider Elite, there is an answer as to whether or not Vince McMahon made an appearance backstage at last night's taping of SmackDown. Per the report, Vince McMahon was not backstage at SmackDown, with further clarification that while they were told that McMahon did go over the show and changes were made, there was some variability in the reports from that point, noting that they, quote, heard differing versions as to how how deep the changes were, obviously we'll have to stay tuned for more information from the backstage area. While he was very notably on hand for the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 39, as he was still in Los Angeles after the weekend's festivities and reportedly seated in gorilla position throughout the night, there was word during subsequent shows that he was not present, with the following SmackDown in Portland, Oregon on April 7th and the Monday Night Raw in Seattle on April 10th, both reportedly also being without Vince McMahon backstage. It doesn't, however, mean that he has no input in the show, as he has been in creative meetings and reportedly made some minor changes to the scripting on both occasions. While there were many changes that had to be made to the latest episode of Raw, they were because of big travel issues with many of the talent rather than because of Vince McMahon himself. So Vince McMahon still making some changes, but he wasn't backstage last night on SmackDown, and frankly, the shows do kind of display that. Now, we've got more final concrete information when it comes to the WWE Draft. Last Friday on SmackDown, WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque announced the return of the WWE Draft. It returns after a gap year in 2022, which saw the company do away with the annual events for the first time since 2015. That night, Levesque also declared that every single superstar will be eligible, and we now know when the draft will indeed be taking place. Friday night on SmackDown, it was announced that it will begin on the April 28th episode of SmackDown and continue the following Monday on the May 1st episode of Monday Night Raw. With the Backlash Premium Live event right around the corner on Saturday, May 6th, it seems likely at the moment that the draft itself will be concluded by then. As of now, there's been no further word on whether or not additional picks will be made after the May 1st episode of Raw. This also comes on the heels of a recent report last month that suggested both USA Network and Fox, the home networks of Raw and SmackDown respectively, had called their original intentions of a strict brand split, reportedly leaving the concept, quote, effectively dead. But as we inch closer to the WWE Draft, stables such as the Bloodline and the Judgment Day continue to appear on both shows, even if one of their champions, be it the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns or SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley, is absent. It'll be interesting to see just how the draft shakes things up in the coming weeks, and let me know your thoughts when it comes to this. Are we going to see a new world title? What happens if Roman Reigns gets drafted to just SmackDown? What does that do for Raw? What does it do for some of these factions such as the Bloodline, such as Judgment Day? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, could LA Knight be the front-runner to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at this year's event? Well, according to WRKD Wrestling, they have tweeted, quote, LA Knight has been discussed internally as a leading candidate to win this year's Money in the Bank match. This tweet came right after LA Knight was beaten on last night's episode of SmackDown by Xavier Woods, the second time Knight has lost to Woods recently. In fact, Knight's record this year is actually 2-7, not very good at all, and yet he still managed to grow into one of the most popular names in the company among fans, all while still being presented as a heel as well. Money in the Bank this year takes place at the O2 Arena in London, England on July 1st. Now, it must be said, last night's match and victory for Woods did set something else up for him later on and I guess in the show and next week, so we'll get into that as the video rolls on. I sound like a Michael Cole. Now, there's some big developments when it comes to the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, but let's steer it back to the beginning of SmackDown last night, because the Bloodline story kicked off last night's episode of SmackDown as yet another problem for them has emerged. After Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn kicked off SmackDown on the mic to address the crowd, the champions weren't alone for long. Being joined by the Usos and Solo Sikoa, the former tag team champions were confident that not only would they recapture their gold, that the Bloodline was just fine. Notably, in the exchange, Jey Uso prognosticated that it would be Sami Zayn who would eventually betray Kevin Owens by turning on him, so we'll write that prediction down for future reference as a possible spoiler. You never know. While KO and Sami Zayn acknowledged that the Bloodline probably didn't come out just to talk, a melee ensued as they came closer to the ring. With their eyes set on the Undisputed Tag Team Champions in the ring, KO and Sami Zayn were outnumbered until Matt Riddle ran out to get involved, again to continue their big six-man feud, which many suspect is going to culminate at Backlash in Puerto Rico. But another big announcement was made when it comes to the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. On night one of WrestleMania 39, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens made history in the main event by defeating the Usos for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships. And as we learned Friday night on SmackDown, the rematch is coming. In 2 weeks, live from the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, Texas, Zayn and KO will put their newly won titles on the line against the team they beat for them. The announcement came courtesy of the wise man Paul Heyman, he may have not minced words, but he certainly put the former champions on notice, saying, quote, "The biggest tag team match in the history of SmackDown, when WrestleMania Night 1 main events gets rematched live," he began. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending and losing the Undisputed Tag Team Championships to the Usos. That announcement, of course, was accompanied by a guarantee as well. Heyman then appeared to be addressing Zayn and KO directly, declaring, "You will lose those Tag Team Championships," before turning his heads towards Jimmy and Jay and stating, "Because the Tribal Chief is losing patience with the two of you." Heyman, though, interestingly and really cleverly, was positioned behind the Usos while still gesturing at Zayn and Owens, meaning both Jimmy and Jay had no idea who he was looking at when he made that declaration. That said, in recent weeks, the bloodline has appeared strong, with Jey Uso defeating the former honorary Uso last Friday, while Solo Sikoa picked up 2 victories this week, this past Monday night over Kevin Owens, followed by another victory Friday night over Matt Riddle. Shinsuke Nakamura is back on SmackDown. On the April 14 episode of SmackDown, the former Intercontinental Champion made his return and faced Madcap Moss in a singles match. The King of Strong Style scored a decisive victory as he looked to remind everyone that he was a force to be reckoned with. Moss tried to attack Nakamura after the bell, but the fan favorite star had it scouted as he trapped Moss in an armbar. Following Nakamura's celebration, a vignette showed Scarlett drawing a tarot card, and one of them had Nakamura's face on it. Cross appeared and he simply said "tick-tock," teasing his intent to face Nakamura at some point soon. Prior to his appearance on April 14, Nakamura hadn't wrestled on WWE television since the November 11 episode of SmackDown, where he lost to Santos Escobar in a SmackDown World Cup tournament match. He competed in dark matches and he wrestled at a number of house shows as well. Nakamura hasn't wrestled in a WWE ring since a live event on January 22nd. He wrestled the Great Muta in a special appearance at Pro Wrestling Noah's The New Year 2023 event on January 1st. Now, speaking about his return, Nakamura has his sights set on the gold. Nakamura, as I mentioned, returned last night on SmackDown, and in a WWE digital exclusive, Nakamura shared his thoughts in the aftermath of his first match back, and he made it clear he had recharged following his time away. He also referenced his victory against the Great Muta. He defeated the legend at Noah the New Year 2023 on January 1st. Quote, "I'm glad to be back. I've been to Japan, so I had a great victory against Great Muta. That was a historic match. Then I recharged, I rebooted." When asked to describe what his plans were following his return, he said, quote, "I need some meat. I need a great opponent. Also, I aim for the world title." So Nakamura's got big plans and big aspirations now that he's back on SmackDown. And speaking of the gold, Intercontinental Championship gold will be on the line next week. 2 championship defenses have been announced for the April 21st episode of SmackDown. The episode will see reigning Intercontinental Champion Gunther defend against former King of the Ring and New Day member Xavier Woods. Additionally, the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will defend against the team of Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Woods' match against Gunther will mark his first time challenging for the Intercontinental Championship in a one-on-one match. The two men previously met in the ring in a 6-man tag team matches on SmackDown late last year. Further than the Intercontinental title, this match is only the second one-on-one match for a singles championship for Woods in WWE. His first came when he answered one of John Cena's US Championship Open challenges all the way back in 2015 on Monday Night Raw. Green and Deville were in the Women's Tag Team Showcase match at WrestleMania 39 alongside Morgan and Rodriguez, although both teams ended up losing to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Morgan and Rodriguez became the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions this past Monday on Raw by defeating Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, who was filling in for Lita, who was injured in the storyline. After the match, of course, Stratus shockingly turned heel and attacked Lynch. The tag team title match will be Green's first televised challenge for any championship in WWE, but she does have experience with tag team wrestling as she recently held the Impact's Knockouts Tag Team Championships alongside Deonna Purrazzo. The pair held the titles for 3 months near the end of last year. Now, let's switch gears and talk about Monday Night Raw. Matches and segments have been announced. Bobby Lashley will be in action on Raw next week. As announced during the April 14 episode of SmackDown, Bobby Lashley will face United States Champion Austin Theory on the April 17 episode of Raw. Lashley and Theory have been feuding at different points for the past several months. Theory won the title by defeating Lashley and Seth freaking Rollins at Survivor Series 2022. At WrestleMania 39, Theory defended the gold against John Cena. WWE also announced that Trish Stratus will address her actions 1 week after she turned on Becky Lynch during the April 10 episode of Raw. Stratus filled in for Lita after the latter was attacked backstage prior to her scheduled title match. Stratus was then pinned when she and Becky Lynch defended the Women's Tag Team Championships against Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. Following the loss, Stratus attacked Lynch and left her lying. So we know that Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory is going to happen. Trish Stratus is going to address her actions. In addition to that, of course, we know that Brock Lesnar is going to be there to answer the challenge of Cody Rhodes for a match at Backlash. Now, speaking of Rhodes, first of all, before we get into Rhodes going to Hollywood, this is absolutely crazy. While many professional wrestling fans lamented Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania loss to Roman Reigns, some who work behind the scenes at WWE believe Rhodes needed more adversity to overcome before he reached the pinnacle. On a live edition of Oh You Didn't Know, WWE Hall of Famer and Senior Vice President of Live Events Brian Road Dogg James discussed and agreed with the argument. Quote, he came in and he had no adversity. He went right through the Rumble, right through everybody, and right to the champion, James said. And so the argument could be made, if you just give it him now, did he earn it? James recalled Rhodes' impressive work leading up to his resurgence in WWE, including laying the groundwork for its rival company All Elite Wrestling. Upon his return to WWE, Rhodes was hell-bent on finishing the story, though the metaphor was left open to interpretation. Many foresaw Rhodes' story ending with a world championship around his waist, a feat neither his father Dusty nor his brother Dustin ever achieved in WWE. While it remains to be seen if Rhodes will ever receive a rematch and capture the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at a later date, James still applauds his accomplishments. Quote, from a human standpoint, holy mackerel, he's an entrepreneur in the industry of sports entertainment, and that has never existed before, James said. As Rhodes pivots away from Reigns, he looks to conquer the beast incarnate Brock Lesnar, who ambushed him at the conclusion of the Raw after WrestleMania. As I mentioned, following Lesnar's attack, Rhodes has challenged him to a match at Backlash, which is scheduled to take place on May 6th. So, do you agree with what Road Dogg is saying there? That Cody Rhodes needed more adversity? But I guess the adversity could lead him to Hollywood, because Cody Rhodes, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, could be headed to Hollywood or Vancouver or wherever they film big big movie productions nowadays, I guess. Sources familiar with the situation claim that the WWE WrestleMania main eventer made the most of his time in Los Angeles and had some meetings regarding potential roles in film and television. There was discussion of him being linked or particularly interested in the Johnny Cage role in an upcoming Mortal Kombat movie, which The Miz has also been angling for. There was also discussion regarding a connection to a potential upcoming Zelda film. Even prior to WWE, Rhodes had good connections to the TV and movie realm outside of wrestling. Cody Rhodes appeared on 7 episodes of Arrow, Stephen Amell, as well as an episode of Warehouse 13. In addition, he's appeared on Go Big Show, Rhodes to the Top, and Wags Atlanta. So, could Cody Rhodes, even though he failed in Hollywood at WrestleMania, could he be headed to Hollywood when it comes to a future movie role? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on that. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. That's your WWE news for today. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.